What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Double D Report. It's me, Dean. Obviously, it's Christmas week. We got to have a lot of fun with this podcast, this episode. But first of all, we got to start off with our picks. Dean, I think, it's a sneaky suspicion, you had a bad week. And that makes me happy.
It's not a sneaky suspicion. It's fact. I had a
Yes!
quite week. I got railed, and pretty much for the first time this year, my lock of the week lost. So yeah, definitely not a good week going into the holiday season. But I'll start it off. I'll go with my only win of the week just to get it out of the way. I did take the Lions -6.5. They definitely had the comeback game that I suspected following their loss the previous week. They kicked the living shit in this game, so 6.5 covered, quite easily to say the least. They won 34-17 against Chicago. Anybody could do the math here. They won by 17, but that did cover the spread. So on to your picks, Derek. You can start it off.
Well, my first pick, first of all, I like to say that I'm mediocre at best. Because I consistently get 2 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start off with my Texans versus Chiefs pick. I took the Texans plus 2.5. I honestly thought it would have been a closer game. Because if you look, the past 3 weeks before this week, the Chiefs have won by like a 2.5 margin. So I thought it was a fair pick, but instead the Chiefs won. Obviously with Tank Dell going down probably affects it a little bit, but still. I took an L on that one. I'm gonna go back to back on this one. I'm gonna do the Rams versus the Jets, and they did in fact cover. I took it at -3, and believe the Rams won 16-9. I want to say
19-9.
19-9. They won 19-9, to which he covered, and that makes me happy. That's my first one.
Yeah, I'm going to go into my losses. This one hurt a little bit because of the massive injury in the first half to Jalen Hurts. I took the Philadelphia Eagles -3.5. They did wound up losing this game outright in the fourth quarter due to a 13-point comeback by Jaden Daniels into the Washington Commanders. They wind up winning this game 36-33. Washington Eagles lost outright. I think I would have been okay here if Hurts didn't get injured or if Sirianni wasn't such a bitch in the fourth quarter. However, it is a loss. Commanders, a big win for them, so I applaud them. But I'll go into my second loss. Fuck it. I'm not even going to allow you to speak. My second loss, this is on me. I mean, I should know better for taking the Giants in any capacity. The Giants could have been +20 in this game, and I still shouldn't have touched it. I took them +9. Not only did the Atlanta Falcons cover that 9, they won 34-7. Watching the game gave me actual physical pain, so I'm not going to talk about it much longer, but you can go into your third pick.
Well, my third pick, I took the Cardinals -4.5. And I honestly thought the Cardinals were going to win that game, but they obviously didn't. Chuba Hubbard had a day, and the Panthers took that game. One thing I will say, though, is that I see a lot of upside now towards the Panthers. Within these past couple weeks, I've seen a lot of upside from what they started out for, like in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it seems to be that benching for Bryce Young definitely did reset him a little bit. Maybe give him a different perspective, not to have so much pressure on himself. He looks like he's having fun out there. He's throwing the ball well, he's running well, and he's just getting acclimated with the offense. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard is a huge part of that, and he's definitely helping him out with the pass protections and with the run game. But yeah, it's good to see, considering how bad the Carolina Panthers have been, not only just the past 2 years, but really just this entire 2020s. So nice to see a little change of pace, and definitely a rough loss for the Cardinals, who we spoke about this last week. They kind of needed the win to even be alive in the playoffs.
And
So
they're
not
effectively eliminated, correct?
just about, not entirely yet. They would need a lot of stuff to happen within their division. They're definitely eliminated from the wild card, but it looks like the division hopes are slipping away as well with the Rams and the Seahawks winning this week.
Yeah. I'm going to go with my lock because my lock affects one of your picks. I took the Falcons versus the Giants. I feel like it was the easiest pick of my life.
Yep.
I think that the Giants would have lost to a high school team this week. I honestly think that's how. I don't even have to say much. The Giants would have lost to a high school team. That's how bad.
No rebuttal. Yeah, no rebuttal. That's pretty much sums it up. My lock of the week, which, like I mentioned earlier, is my first loss lock of the week of the year. I took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat Dallas. This was a huge week for Tampa Bay. It's not going to get any easier. They pretty much had the division within their own hands. If they just won out, they would have won the division. Now they're second in the division to Atlanta because they did wound up losing this game 26 to 24 to Dallas. Dallas keeps their playoff hopes alive by a very marginal slim. I mean, they're pretty effectively eliminated anyway, but this was a huge loss for the Buccaneers, who no longer have their advantage of destiny on their side where they control it. So, pretty disappointing loss. Bad plays in the fourth quarter by them. There was a fumble and an interception. Nothing more to say, really. Just a really bad and disappointing loss from the Buccaneers and their fans. I thought they were the best team in the division. Maybe I'm mistaken. I have no idea, but they're gonna have to bounce back next week.
I did not expect the Cowboys to win that game like at all.
Yep.
But hey, it happens. They'll hopefully because I do hate on Baker a lot because he always beats the Eagles, but he is a
Yep.
good quarterback. I hope they do make the playoffs on that side.
Yep.
Uh,
But moving on, Derek goes mediocre in his picks this week. I have another 1 in 3 weeks. Not good. Hopefully, we'll be both be better this upcoming week. Maybe a little Christmas magic. But that being said, we're gonna move on. I, for once, created the agenda this week for everybody who doesn't know. Derek likes to, manipulate these things. But we're gonna
manipulate. Get the fuck out of here.
we're gonna get onto this first topic. Derek, the question is gonna go to you to start, and we have given them shit all year, and yet they continue to prove us wrong. Is Kansas City just completely destined at this point to go for the three-peat, to win their third championship in a row? Is anybody stopping them?
No, I I hate to say it. Like every part of my body hurts when I say this, but I don't see a team stopping them. There is a team that has the best chance, and that's the Lions. I don't see the Eagles. I'm an Eagles fan. I don't see the Eagles being the Chiefs. I don't see anyone in the NFC being the Chiefs. I don't see anyone in the AFC being the Chiefs. I don't even think the Bills would even touch them, honestly. Because if they have to step foot in Arrowhead, they're gonna get owned.
It's crazy because we've spoken about this almost every week, where Kansas City has a one possession game, like you mentioned, almost like a 2 3 point game where they pull it out, they win, whether it was early in the year via penalties, via field goal kicks, via field goal misses. We would always think like, geez, they're just scrounging by, right? This is just a team that doesn't look confident. They don't look like they're winning in any sort of capacity to show you that they're a championship caliber team. But they keep winning, man. They just keep fucking winning. And it's crazy because both of us thought maybe this week following Mahomes' ankle injury that he would be a little hindered and Houston would have a chance here, right? No, not even close. Not at any point during that game did you think Houston had a handle on them. And Houston's first in their division. So that's automatically a division that's completely eliminated from playoff contention because they can't beat the Chiefs, in my eyes,
Oh, I agree.
right? The one team in the AFC that I thought could beat the Chiefs was the Bills, but the Bills continue to have their problems. The way I see it is, if you look at all of the teams around the NFL who have a chance to vie for that championship spot with Kansas City, right? All these other teams have glaring issues except the Chiefs.
It,
It's crazy. The Bills and the Ravens, right, are probably the two best contenders in the AFC. The
yes.
Bills' defense is horrible. That's their glaring thing. And then going into Arrowhead is going to be like hell on earth for them.
Yeah.
The Ravens, you never know what you're going to get from them offensively. They have a very good defensive team, but teams can beat them on the offensive side of the ball, right? Then you go to the NFC. The Eagles, their flaw, coaching. Fuck Nick Sirianni.
Agreed.
Detroit Lions flaw, injuries. More than half of their starting players on defense have been injured this year, right? And then you go to secondary teams like the Packers, like the Minnesota Vikings. Do we really think they have a chance?
No.
It's crazy to me that this team just it's almost we talked about this too, this possibility. It's almost like they were a sleeping giant. Like they didn't try. And now they're starting to kick it up when there's 2 weeks left and they're like, "Oh fuck, let's start pounding shit."
I remember when you said this to me. You're like, "This, Derek. Do you think that they're like fucking around and like they're not even trying until like the end of the game?" I'm starting to agree with you. I honestly think they are because it just makes no sense to where they're not like vision speaking, like watching the game, they don't look like they're playing good, but they just win.
Their defense is one of the best in the league with Spagnuolo on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes.
You have arguably the best coach in the league who schemes up things that you could never believe in Andy Reid, right? He coaches almost a perfect game almost 100% of the time. They have experience on their side. They've been here before. They've won three championships, two in a row now. So they're pretty much in the playoffs. Not only the playoffs, they're pretty much in the AFC Championship every single year,
Yeah.
which is an insane accomplishment in itself. And then you have Patrick Mahomes. I,
It's
I, it's crazy.
it's annoying. It's honestly annoying. As an NFL fan, just seeing the same team in the AFC pisses me off. Because I would like to see a different. I would like to see a change. I would like to see the Bills, the
Of,
Ravens.
of course you would, but this is not new to the AFC. You had the Patriots dynasty for almost 20
I
years,
feel
right?
bad for the AFC.
And it almost feels like the Kansas City Chiefs are starting to like surpass that. They're starting to look ahead because Mahomes, realistically, what is Mahomes like now? 28 years old?
29, I believe.
29? Like it's unbelievable how young he is and how much he's accomplished already. You're right. He's 29 years old, right? Like, and he's already had three championships. He's about to go for a three-peat. Like, this is the next dynasty, and we keep trying to fend it off. We keep trying to say reasons why they won't do it, and yet they're just continuing to prove us all wrong.
Now, I have a quick side question for you. Do you think that if, say, God forbid, they do win this championship, would
Yeah.
Andy Reid be into the argument of best coaches of all time?
It's hard not to, right? I, I mean, look, he still has a whiles to go for Belichick, right?
Yeah.
Belichick had eight championships total, six for the New England Patriots, two as an assistant coach for the Giants, right? So he's definitely on the way. There's no question about it. This guy is creating a dynasty right before our eyes, right? They always say that a dynasty is when you win three in a row, but I would argue that they're already in that dynasty
Yeah. They
territory.
took a break
I
for a year.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, to be honest with you. So I wouldn't call him the greatest coach of all time yet. I would say that he is definitely, I think he's already top five all time.
I agree.
And
I do agree.
and the more championships he wins, and the more playoff wins, and the more accolades that he's able to pile up, it's just going to increase his odds and continue to get him top three, top two, top one, and that'll be how it is.
Yeah. It overall. One thing would like to say that I do like as much as I want to hate on it, I respect it because they're just it just shows like obviously what you said, the coaching, everything all sticks like clicks together to where it just makes a I wouldn't say a perfect team, but like a very good, well functioning team.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Whew.
But we digress. The Kansas City Chiefs are inevitable, folks. Moving on to the second topic here, we do have to obviously touch on some NCAA. College football playoff is continuing to happen. The first round of the playoff just happened this past week. We had some good games. We had some very predictable games. The lines were quite dead accurate, as we said, and I think me and Derek were pretty close to our predictions. I think Derek chose Ohio State and I chose Tennessee, so that's where our really only caveat was on this one. But just to give people some updates, Texas did move on 38-24 against Clemson. They'll be playing Arizona State in the quarterfinals. You had Ohio State, like I mentioned, absolutely blowing Tennessee out of the fucking water, 42-17. They'll be playing the number one seed in the Oregon Ducks. Penn State, baby. My Nittany Lions kicking some ass against SMU 38-10. They're going to be going into the quarterfinals against Boise. And then you have Notre Dame pulling out a nice defensive win where they had their first three scores were all on the defensive side of the ball. They wound up winning 27-17 against Indiana. They'll be playing a Carson Beckless Georgia team in the quarterfinals. We do have to go into this round two, Derek. You have some really great matchups on the slate in the quarterfinals. Is there a particular game you want to start off with talking about?
I'm gonna start with the Georgia game.
You got it. Georgia, Notre Dame. Let's hear it.
All right. So me personally, even because I did obviously say that they're gonna make it to the championship game. I did say Notre Dame was going to make it there. They did have a great game their first week of the college football playoffs. That's why I said they controlled the game as long as Indiana didn't start off hot, they were good. I do think Notre Dame is going to stomp on them. Without Carson Beck, I understand that Georgia's defense is
Up
great.
on them.
Yes,
Wow.
I understand that Georgia is a great overall team. Coached great, has a great coach and everything. I honestly, I don't see Georgia being able to rally and beat that team because I don't know if the lines are out yet, but the Notre
I
Dame
was just
should be favored.
I was just gonna say Georgia is favored, but it is a very close game. They're only favored by 2.
I might take the fucking Notre Dame +2.
So you're gonna take Notre Dame, and you're gonna take obviously outright Notre Dame winning,
Yes.
but with +2.
Yeah.
You go on the flip side of it. So yes, I realize Georgia doesn't have Carson Beck, right? They're gonna have to maneuver around their offense without their starting quarterback going into the quarterfinals. I get that. But there's a couple of things that you mentioned that caught my eye. One, Georgia is great coached, right? George Kirby is phenomenal at what he does, and he continues to find ways to do it methodically, calling timeouts at a perfect areas of the game. Their defense is, if not top in the league, top 3 in college football, at least within the remaining playoff teams. And the one thing that I looked at is Notre Dame's defense is great as well, and they proved it against Indiana. 2 pick sixes, completely dominating Indiana's offense. The one thing that I'm worried about is Notre Dame's offense didn't look great, right? They definitely didn't show the prowess that they needed to. They won the game. I'm not discrediting him in any way, but I feel like against a Georgia team, if you're going to make this a defensive battle, I don't know that you come out on top here. So, that being said, I'm going to say it is going to be a close game. I'm going to say it's going to be within the 10-point margin and it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. But I am going to take Georgia, who will be Carson Beckless. I'm going to take Georgia winning outright here. And I'm even going to take them covering the 2 points. I think they win by a nice touchdown.
Wow. I don't like don't get me wrong, like Carson Beck did not have a good year this year, but that's their lead. He is their leader on that team.
Of course, and I completely understand that. I just am not convinced by Notre Dame's offense. I really am not. I think there's still some glaring issues, and their defense is going to have to take over, and it could. I just think Georgia's is better.
I
That's my opinion.
on my opinion, I genuinely think this is the best game on the slate. In
It
my
could be.
in my opinion.
It very well could be. We'll hop into the second game. So we're on the opposite ends of the spectrum on this one. So that's already a nice quarterfinals because we can fuck with each other.
Exactly.
Then we're gonna go into the second game, which is my Nittany Lions against the Boise State team that is the 3 seed that had the first round bye. Penn State is favored by 11 to start this game.
Makes sense.
I'm going to start it off. I've said it all along. I'm going to continue to go with my prediction here. I think Penn State fucking railroads them. I think they're just going to game plan to stop Genty, and that's going to be that. I don't think Boise State will have an answer. I don't think Boise State's going to have an answer for their offense. I think not only is Penn State going to cover the 11, I think they win by 20 plus here. And I think it's going to be an absolute rout. And they're just going to march their little penguin legs into the semifinal.
Well, I do agree with you. I do think Penn State's going to win this game, but I don't think that they're going to rat them. I don't think that at all, because there's been a lot of even Oregon, the number 1 team in the nation,
Yep. Yep.
wasn't able to stop Genty.
Mm-hmm.
And how I see it was what Oregon put up 45 points. Correct me if I'm wrong, against the Nittany Lions in the Big Ten championship.
45 to 37.
Yeah, they put up 45 points, and it shows that Penn State's defense does have flaws. So I do think it's going to be a close game, but I do think that the Penn State is a better team, and we'll take this game. I do think Genty, by the way, will rush for at least 150 in that game.
All right. All right. A nice little prop bet for everybody out there listening. But we'll hop into the third game. Derek, I'm going to give you the first reins on this one. This is the second closest game in terms of spread in the remaining quarterfinals. It's Oregon against Ohio State. Believe it or not, OSU is favored by 2.5. So take of that what you will, right? Oregon is definitely the best team in the
What?
nation. Look. I don't want to get into it crazy. Or we've talked about this in the past. Oregon is the best team in the nation. They are the number one overall seed. However, however, to start this week, they are underdogs against an Ohio State team that just absolutely beat the living crap out of Tennessee. Derek, thoughts?
I'm being boozled by that. Honestly, I don't understand how the best team in the nation is not favored to win this game. I understand Ohio State had a great game. I
Yep.
completely understand that.
Yep.
But Oregon is just is better coached, better
Mm-hmm.
team, better players, in my opinion. Or the big three. I think that Oregon is going to absolutely railroad them. I don't think it's going to be even a chance that they win that game.
Okay.
Even though earlier in the year they oh, I think I know why. It's because earlier in the year they played each other and it was a close game, a
Okay.
very close game, and it went down to a field goal, I believe. But no,
Mm-hmm.
but the quarterback. Oh yeah, it was a controversy where the quarterback slid too early
Mm-hmm.
and the clock ran out.
Yep.
But still, it's stupid. The fucking whoever created that line, she actually gets shot. It's so stupid because Oregon has systematically dominated almost every single team besides Ohio State, but they still won the game. All that matters is you win, you win, you win, you win. They're undefeated. They should be the favorite to win that game. Overall, Oregon's gonna win and they're gonna railroad them.
Okay. I'm gonna go the complete opposite end of you just to
You
fuck with you.
moron.
Just to fuck with you, right? So first and foremost, Ohio State's rolling. They're rolling right now. They look great. They really do. They absolutely took it to Tennessee and they didn't let up for a second. Not even for a remote second. They started that game off 21-0, beat the living crap out of Tennessee. Tennessee could not recover, right? And then on the flip side of that, Oregon's coming off a bye. So I think if Ohio State can get off to a good start, right? Maybe, who knows, they get off to like a 7, 10, 14-point lead in the first half. I think it's going to be extremely difficult for Oregon to come back from this. And on top of that, I'm actually going to use the line to my advantage, right? You're saying in no way, shape, and form should Ohio State be favored here. They're favored here for a reason. That's my mentality on this one. I am going to take Ohio State outright, and I'm going to take them winning by 3. So I'm going to take the 2.5 points too, just to fuck with you.
I hate you.
But this will also open up a path for my Penn State Nittany Lions. However, we're going to move on here. We're going to move on here to the fourth and final game. Texas is favored by 13.5 points against an Arizona State team who wound up squeaking into the top 4, who got the first round bye. Texas, their win against Clemson was good early. Clemson came on a little bit late to make it somewhat of a game, and then Texas in the fourth quarter kind of just rode away with it. Ewers didn't play great. He played average. He played good enough. Texas defense looked good. I'm going to go off here and start. I'm going to say Texas is going to win this game. I truly do believe they're a better team than Arizona State, but I think the 13.5 is a little egregious. I think I'm going to take a closer game here. I'm going to take Texas winning by around 6 points. I'm going to say they win by a touchdown or 2 field goals here, and they do continue to move on. I just think they are a better team. I think I'm just going to say I do think the line's a little much. That's all. That's my only caveat. But I'm going to take Texas winning out right here.
I agree with you. I don't. Obviously, Arizona State, they did make it there. They are a good team. I just don't think that they stand a chance against that team. And just in my opinion, overall, the Texas team is very well rounded. Ewers had a good game. He didn't have a bad game. I potentially could be back to his old form, but yeah, I just don't. I honestly, this might be another thing about Arch Manning. I see Arch Manning coming in the third quarter. That's how bad I see it.
He's just going to keep predicting this until it actually
Well, he
happens.
did come in. He did come in. He fumbled the snap, but he came in.
Shut up. Quick question for you while we're on the college football track. out of the two games that are predicted to be over 10 points, right? So you have the Penn State Boise State game where Penn State's favored by 11, Texas Arizona, Texas favored by 13 and a half. Which team, Boise State or Arizona State, do you see most likely to pull off an upset here?
Boise State.
You do.
Yes, because Boise State. How I see it is, I'm going off of previous matchups. Boise State kept it close against Oregon, who's the number one team. I think they have the because they. I see them versing better teams. Well, not even though they're in the Mountain Conference, they verse better teams. They verse like all like the outside teams, like Oregon, most of the Big Ten. So I think they have the best chance. But another game was Texas, correct? And
Yeah.
I
No,
see
yeah, Texas, Arizona
I
State.
see Texas. Texas is a way better team than Penn State, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So I see Boise State upsetting the Penn State over than Arizona State upsetting Texas.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that was just a quick question for you. Now, we had this the last couple of weeks. We are going to get into our mailbag questions here. Gio, cue up the damn clip.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
Kirby's got his letter over here. We want to thank everybody, as always, for sending in questions, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Derek's mail address. Wherever you want to send them, we're happy to answer them for you. But we're going to go to somebody who reached out to me personally on this one. Nikki from the Bronx. We've had some egregious people out in the out in the Midwest the last couple of weeks, but this one, straight from the Bronx, right? He wanted me to also preface that he's in enemy territory. He's in the Bronx, but he's a Mets fan. He did want me to say that. God bless you, Nikki. Hang in there. Um, we're just going to go into this one. So, Derek, I'm going to ask you the question first and we'll converse afterwards, right? So, this is from Nikki. First time caller, love the show. Multi-layered question for you,
Okay.
right? Did the outcome of this weekend's CFB first round hurt the 12-team format at all in year one? Is there as much parity as we thought there is in the sport? Meaning, is the competitiveness real, or are these blowouts in the first round hurting it? And on that same topic, what do you say about the fans who think the four-team format was enough?
Okay. I'm gonna start with the last question. The
Okay.
14 format. Me personally, I didn't like the 14 format purely because of there was a lot of stipulations on the past couple of years and like teams that should have made it and all this and that. So I think that what they have now is good, the 12-team format. And by hurting, I don't think this week hurt it at all. Because obviously there is teams that are better than the teams. It's just how seeding works. In the NFL, the second seed plays the seventh seed. They're normally a lot. The second seed is normally a lot better than the seventh seed. That's how I see it. I don't see it as it hurting in any way or anything like that. One thing I will say though, even though I do like the 12-team format, is I think instead of 12 teams, they should change it to 10, the top 10.
Okay.
Because I feel like that the top 10 it's going to be more competitive than what it was in the 12. I think that two extra teams, because think about it, the two extra teams brought in Clemson and SMU, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, those two games are blowouts.
Yeah, they were. I mean, look, I think the question came here like because all four games were kind of blowouts, right? There was no really like there was no close matchups here in
Yeah.
terms of the final scores. There was no chance late in these games for some teams to come in. The only reason the Indiana game was a 10-point game at the end was because Indiana brought in all their backups and scored in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's where the question came in. If you move to a 10 though, you'd have to do only the top two teams getting a bye. Is that something you'd be
Yes.
okay with?
Yes, that's how it should be. I think that's how
Okay.
it should be.
Interesting. So I'm going to piggyback off you a little bit. I'm going to say the 12 team, in my opinion, is definitely much better than the four, right? Four teams, those four teams, yes, you can argue that they're the best in the nation and they're going to give you the most competitive balance games. However, you want to bring more programs into this. You want to bring more competitive nature into this. And this is especially going to help recruiting because recruits are no longer going to just think, I have to go to a top four team to make the playoff. I can go to a team, build a program there, and make it in. Like, look at SMU, look at Boise State, right? These are teams that you didn't really think too much about in the beginning of the season, but there were certain players and certain programs that had these coaches really drive together and they were able to make it. So I think that definitely helps the perspective of especially recruiting. I will say, I do think this hurt a little bit. It sucks to see blowouts, right? The first round was not competitive in any way, shape, or form. Not even a little. Like, none of the games were competitive whatsoever. Ohio State blew Tennessee out. Penn State beat the living crap out of SMU. Like, these were not fun games to watch unless you're betting on them. Or unless you're in college and you're going to these games, right? Then you're having a good fucking time if you're a Penn State fan, right? Or you're having a real shitty time if you're a Tennessee fan. So I think it hurt. My one suggestion moving forward, I like the 12-man format. I like the first four get buys because if you're going to do the first four format anyway, right? Those four teams would be the final, right? So at least give them buys to and then go into a quarter and a semi. I will say I think they should moving forward have more cross conference play. You'll get a better idea of what teams are actually going to be a competitive matchup when it comes to the first round, right? So even if, for example, like a 10-3 team makes it, but they played a very good conference and they had some big wins against like a Bama or an Ohio State, you can at least make that argument to say that they're going to be more competitive come the playoff time. That's just my suggestion. I don't know what you think, but I do think that the first round definitely hurt viewership just because of the blowouts.
I think that I don't agree with that because I think that everyone was so excited for this 12 team format that I don't think that just one week was just. I think it was just the matchups. That's just how it ended up being. You can't technically the fans can't control how the matchups were. It's just how it ended up happening. One another thing that I will I don't remember exactly what you just said. I need to repeat the last at the towards the tail end of what you just said.
What the way of maybe making it more
Oh,
competitive?
the cross conference, exactly. So I by cross conference, if you're saying this, like the Big Ten should be versing the SEC more, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I 100%
Yes.
agree with that.
And then even like the Mountain West division playing more teams in the Big Ten,
I
right?
100% agree with that. Because how are teams going to be playing better and scheming better if they don't go against those type of teams? Like in the NFL, they're going against the best teams at pot, like
Yeah,
best
no,
teams there.
like the perfect example here is SMU, right? They played well at the end. I thought they deserved to make the playoff because I think they did deserve to make the playoff. They lost a heartbreaker in the championship to Clemson, but Clemson was by far the best team that they played in their 2024 schedule. The second best team that you can argue is, I don't even know, looking at their schedule, maybe BYU,
The BYU
maybe
was ranked 8 at a time.
maybe Louisville. Like, they should be playing more teams because it showed that when they came into Penn State, they got their shit rocked. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
So if they play more teams in other conferences like the Big Ten, like the Big 12, you have that parity. And like you just said, they can at least game plan more and they could see what coverages, what schemes they need to do to be more competitive against these teams because it would at least help on the competitive nature of things.
Yeah, that's one thing I 100% agree, and the NCAA should really think about doing that. Obviously, I don't think they'll be able to do it next year, but in the coming years, I do think that they should do that because it'll be so much. College football games wouldn't just be like, oh, there's only one week to where there's a good game.
Yep.
It'll be
Yeah.
pretty much every week of good
No, I
games.
agree. I agree. Once again, Nikki in the Bronx, thank you for the question. I'm sure we'll be hearing more of you. He has been blowing up our channel for questions. So I'm assuming during baseball season, especially being a Mets fan, he'll be chiming in again. So we expect to hear you as a repeat offender, Nikki. And additional people, please send our questions to us. Derek's happy to answer them in a stupid way. I'm happy to answer them in an intelligent way, and we can go from there. But moving on here before Derek can say something stupid again, we're going to go back to the NFL. So we spoke about the Kansas City Chiefs earlier and how it's almost inevitable at this point that they're on their way to another championship. At least we think so.
Hmm.
Gonna flip the switch to the NFC. A lot of good team. The NFC's very top heavy, Derek. You got the Eagles, you got the Lions, you got the Packers, and you got the Minnesota Vikings. Who do you think after this week, where some of these games were very decisive, who do you think should be the favorite coming out of the NFC right now?
I think it's kind of obvious, but even though obviously their injuries are scary,
Mm-hmm.
is the Lions. The
Okay.
Lions are the better team, the best team in my eyes. They beat the Vikings, they beat the Packers, which are two good teams in their division. They've they've beat the only good team that they lost to was the Bills. They lost to the Bucks this year too. That was their first loss. So I I don't see a team competing with them, honestly. Even I'm an Eagles fan. I'm saying this because even with David Montgomery falling down, Jahmyr Gibbs came in and did what he had to do, and he had over 130 all-purpose yards,
Yeah.
which is insane. It just shows like that even with a running back, a big player on your team coming down, it doesn't affect your offense. And that was one thing we said in last week that we were worried about. So I don't see anyone beating them in general.
So I think the obvious answer here is yes, the Lions should be the favorites in the NFC, right? I'm going to completely discredit the Eagles once again. I've been saying it all year. They're playing good football, but I swear to God, I just still don't trust Sirianni when it comes to a playoff game. I think he's just bound to fuck it up. And that's just my opinion, right? I've watched a lot of Eagles games this year as a Giants fan. You obviously have watched all of them as an Eagles fan. It's just so hard to trust him when it comes to playoff games because he makes such stupid decisions. And if I'm taking Eagles versus Lions, I'm taking Dan Campbell all day, every day, right? So that's my one caveat here. I will say though, as the year has gone on, especially over like the last 3 weeks, there are two teams that like you watch their games and they're scary, and you do not want to play them in the playoffs. First and foremost, it's the Packers for me. They have not only won, but they have killed teams the last few weeks, right? They've had some pretty impressive wins. Jordan Love is looking like the guy. LaFleur is really coaching his ass off. You have an offense clicking on all cylinders, and not to mention, I get it, right? They play the piece of shit New Orleans Saints this past week with Spencer Rattler and their injuries just completely decimating them. But they did shut him out.
Yeah,
The only thing that'll hurt Green Bay is they're not going to have home advantage.
exactly.
So they're going to be a scary team to play, but outside of Lambeau, their scariness kind of dissipates, right? The other team that I think is scary, and correct me if I'm wrong, and we can debate a little bit. It's a team that's not really on a lot of people's radars, but it's the Rams.
Oh, oh yeah, oh yeah.
The Rams frighten me, man. Sean McVay's been here before. We talked about this in previous weeks. They survived the beginning of the year with so many injuries, and now they're just clicking on offense. Their offense is dynamic with Stafford, Puka, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams. They really look great. And then on the defensive side of the end, they're just smothering teams. Right? It's a scary team to play, especially when you know you're going to be playing them in a wild card round. And one of the top two, three teams is going to be playing them. So it's either going to be the Eagles or it's either going to be the Seahawks playing them. And that would scare because the Seahawks are in first right now, I believe, right? Or is it the Rams? I think
The Rams are in
I'm
first.
pretty
The Rams are in first.
I'm pretty sure they're tied, but things can change. Obviously, yes, they're tied, but the Rams are technically in first. I scratch that. They're not tied. Rams are in first by a game, but the Rams are going to be playing one of the wild card teams, like a Minnesota, like a Green Bay, and the winner of that is a scary team to play in the playoffs, second round.
Oh, 100% agree. I 100% agree. It's because, as what you said, the Rams survived. Them surviving those early seasons, no Puka, no Cooper Cup, and was just pretty much Stafford, Kyron, and then the backups. They still stood through, and now they're in front of their division. This is the only caveat of the team
Hmm.
is their defense. which
Yeah.
is they've showed that they give up a lot of points, but they do win the games.
Yeah.
The only game that they lost to that made them look bad was the Eagles game because the Eagles just ran all over them. If they're able to stop the run and their pass defense is slowly but surely getting better,
Yep.
they could easily take out a 30 seed, a 2 seed, or even if they get the 5th seed, yeah. If they get the 5th seed, they could be the 4th seed.
Yeah, well, as of right now, because if they'd win the division, and as of right now, how it stands, Detroit is going to get that number one overall seed and the bye. Them winning the division ahead of whoever's in the South, because the South is probably going to be in that 4 seed. So the Rams would get the 3 seed, and they would play most likely a Minnesota or a Green
That's a
Bay,
good game. That's a
which
good
would
game.
be yeah, which would be an insane game to start off the playoffs. And that's the one thing that I always had an issue with Green Bay is because they're not going to get home field advantage, right? If the Rams play Green Bay in Green Bay, I'm taking Green Bay 7 days of the week, twice on Sunday. But because it's going to be in LA, that scares me because Stafford is going to be good in a dome. Stafford's going to be good in warm weather. It's just it's going to playoffs are going to be fun in the NFC, and I truly don't think there's going to be like a massive favorite in the NFC because of how close a lot of these teams are. But I'm glad to see we're on the same page where at least we think the Lions are still the team to beat.
Yes. And this is one thing I will say is that this is a little bit of bias talking, but I think that the two stadiums that you don't want home field advantage in is Detroit, obviously the number 1 seed, and or the
Hmm.
Eagles. The
Yeah.
the crazy thing is that the Eagles win these next 2 weeks,
Hmm.
and the Lions lose their next 2 weeks. The Eagles are in first place,
Yes.
and in my opinion,
Not gonna happen.
what?
It's not gonna
Well,
happen.
the only reason why I'm saying that it could happen is that the Lions don't have an easy last 2 weeks.
I get it. No, all right, let's calm down on that. The 49ers have almost we're getting to the point where they are an easy matchup.
All right, but I'm not saying the Niners. I'm saying like their last week of the season is huge.
Vikings. Yeah, the Vikings. I get it.
So it's very possible. And don't get the Lions did lose to the Niners last year to go to the Super Bowl. They did choke.
They
It's
did, but on the same side of things, you can't say that the Eagles are two sure wins if Hurts is out this next week.
oh
The
no,
Cowboys,
I agree. I'm just
the
saying. I was
Cowboys
just
have
saying in general.
proven, yeah, but the Cowboys have proven where they can at least play spoiler. They're not going to make the playoffs,
No,
but with no Hurt, if there's no Hurts next week,
we lose.
I think there's a good chance that the Eagles may lose that game.
I agree. No, I 100% agree because
But
we
on the
let's
same side, on the same side of things, they have no chance. The Eagles are going to railroad the Giants in the last week too.
yeah. Hopefully Saquon will break the record.
Yeah.
All right. I think the overall point is that the Lions will take the NFC in both of our opinions.
Okay. Cool. Cool. We're gonna move on to a topic we like. It's very open ended. I wanted to discuss it with you. We're a little biased over here on the East Coast because for the majority of things, me and Derek are New York fans. Whether that and we're talking about core four sports here, right? Football, basketball, baseball, hockey. I'm not going to go into all the other bullshit that we could speak to, like MLS and all that crap, right? That's for another time.
Hmm.
New York sports has been in almost a constant disarray over the last 10 plus years, right? The last championship in the core four sports was in 2011,
Oh God.
right? So we're entering year 14 of not a singular championship being brought to New York in any capacity in any of the core four sports, right? There's been teams who have made the championship. Mets in 2015, Rangers in 2014,
Yankees and
Yankees
Giants.
this past year. Yep. So there's been teams to make it, but they haven't won. So my question to you is, and that's why I wanted to have this conversation as open-ended as possible because it can go a lot of different routes, right? Where do you think the best avenue to success, a best avenue to a championship is in New York as of right now?
That's tough.
It's tough.
because I'm down to two sports. I'm down to baseball,
Okay.
and I'm down to the NBA.
Okay.
Because let's be real, if we're counting the Giants and the Jets,
Yeah.
they're not even close. They're out of the question.
Garbage.
Horrible, god awful. Rangers,
Garbage.
they're doing some questionable shit.
Garbage.
Okay.
Look, if you're looking at it strictly from a Christmas standpoint, right? The Rangers and the Islanders in the NHL are now tied for last in the Metro.
Yeah.
They have had historically bad stretches. Now the Rangers are 4-13 in their last 17 games.
Oh god.
They just got blown out by the New Jersey Devils. 5-0 in a game where you thought they had to show something before Christmas break, and they got fucking shellacked. Right? The Devils took out their schlong and laid it across the Rangers' forehead.
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Not good. On the flip side of that, you can't dismay hockey because you have the Devils in the metro area, right? Who are one of the best teams in the NHL, top two teams in the metro. So it's tough to go in that respect. But if you're going to your NBA and MLB, you can explain why.
I'd say for obviously the MLB, there's two good teams now, the Mets and the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the NBA, the Knicks are starting to click together. But we did see the same thing with the Knicks last year. They clicked together, then they choked against the Pacers. So overall, I think the best chances is in the MLB atmosphere, and it's either with obviously the Mets and the Yankees. My opinion, who's the better team to get there, no bias, is the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Yankees don't have the Dodgers, which is hard, and the Yankees do not have the Dodgers. So overall, I do think that the Yankees are probably the best way to get the championship. If they get a couple pieces together, they could potentially beat the Dodgers. But I feel like the MLB and the Yankees is the best way for New York to capture the beloved championship that they do need.
So I'm going to agree with you on one thing. If we're looking at it strictly from a standpoint of getting to the championship, I'm going 100% the Yankees are the best choice, right? Because they're in a conference that is extremely weak, where they can kind of just glide right into the World Series, right? We're not debating on who's a better team, Yankees or Mets, because they're both very good. But if you're looking for the easiest path to a championship, it's the Yankees because, like you said, the NL is much more stacked than the AL, right? You have the Dodgers, you have the Padres, you have the Braves, you have the Phillies. You could even add in a few other teams like a Diamondbacks, or I don't want to say Milwaukee because they're always frauds every year, so I'm not going to. But when it comes to the AL, who's really vying for a spot with the Yankees at this particular junction? Like last year, you could argue it was Baltimore and the Astros. Both of those teams have got substantially worse this offseason. The Astros losing Bregman and then trading away Kyle Tucker. Baltimore losing Corbin Burns and not making a singular move in free agency. So I really don't know from a perspective on the AL who is even going to be vying for that spot to compete with the Yankees when it comes to that. On the other side of the ball, if I'm choosing a team that actually could win a championship, not just make it, win, it pains me. It pains me to say this, and I know I'm going to get shit from a few people who listen to this. I'm going to say the Devils. I'm going to go to hockey, and I'm going to say the Devils, right? They have a very good young core of players. Their GM did an outstanding job this offseason and addressed the one issue on the team that has been plaguing them, which is goaltending, and they went out there and traded for a goalie this offseason, right? Yes, their path to a championship is difficult. They have to go through Carolina. They have to go through Tampa. They have to go through the Maple Leafs. Then on the flip side of it, in the other conference, you have some really good teams. You got the Dallas Stars. You got the Colorado Avalanche. You got the Vegas Golden Knights. You got the Kings. You got Edmonton. It's tough. The NHL is a very tough league because it's probably the league with the most competitiveness, top to bottom. But if they can make it, I think they have the best chance of winning it.
I think
In
that's
my
I think that's a fair assessment to make. Is because they are a good team.
yeah.
It's just you are right. The path there is harder than for the Yankees.
Yeah.
So
It
you're 100% right. If the Devils do make it to the Stanley Cup, there's a high possibility they win because they do have
Yeah.
a lot of good young core players. And obviously, you're exactly right with the improvement of the goaltending because that's what they needed. That's what they struggled in the past years. So
Yeah. Like, because the question started out as who's going to win it, right? You are 100% correct, and I agreed with you. The Yankees have the easiest path, but there's a realistic junction here where they make it to the World Series the next 3 years and they lose all three to the Dodgers.
oh yeah,
Then that doesn't count in the slightest. That almost makes you more depressed as a New York fan because you realize you're getting beat every year by a better team, even though you're making it every year.
yeah.
Right? And I'm hesitant for the exact reasons you said about saying the Knicks. They have a very good roster. Still got to get past Boston. That's number one, right? And then on the flip side of it, when you look into the other conference, OKC's really good. Denver is really good.
Mavs.
The Mavs are really good. So I don't know if I would trust the Knicks. I don't know if I would put my eggs in the Knicks basket.
I would
And
never.
then we can both fully agree that NFL, you can just blow up MetLife Stadium for all we care.
Yes, and we wouldn't even notice. Honestly.
No, neither would the NFL.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if MetLife blew up, they wouldn't even have had a memorial service. There's no point.
I don't even think football was in my brain to even think about. I think it was instantly just baseball or basketball, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's the even sadder part. The last team to win was the Giants, was an NFL team, and that's just how far we've come. Where they're literally a pile of dog shit.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
The good times.
But I'm hoping everybody enjoyed that little segment. I wanted to speak to it with Derek, and I also owed somebody something about the Devils, so I wanted to be very upfront about that. Rangers, fuck you. You ruined my Christmas.
Capo caco.
However, we're gonna move on to our segment that we do every week. Derek, you're gonna be better than mediocre. I'm gonna move up to mediocre, right?
Yes. Hopefully.
All right. Derek, would you like to start us off on our picks of the week?
Yeah, I'm gonna start off with my first game, which is on the beloved Christmas,
Okay.
and I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens minus 5.5 versus the Texans. I'm taking
Nice.
that game because I think Baltimore is going to just outright stomp on their throat.
Okay. That's nice. How nice of you.
Because obviously they did lose Tank Dell, which is a big focal point this year. They lost Tank Dell and Diggs. Now Stroud has Nico, Michi, and Schultz to throw to, but
Yeah.
it's still going to be hard for them to go up against that high-powered offense in Baltimore. So I don't see them beating them. Simple as that.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's a good pick. I'm gonna stay away from Christmas Day just because you did. I don't feel obligated anymore to choose a Christmas Day game, so thank you. I'm gonna start off my first game. I'm gonna go the Thursday night game though, so one day later. Fuck you to everybody. I'm gonna take the Seahawks minus 3.5 over the Chicago Bears. I'm still the Chicago Bears #1 hater, baby, and I'm gonna keep on that roll. Fuck you, Caleb. Thank you.
I I thought you were gonna say something else. You said "fuck you, Caleb." Fair enough.
Nope.
Fuck. Fair enough. Fuck Caleb. Well, overall my consensus this week is that I'm taking gimme games, in my opinion. So I'm taking the Vikings to beat the Packers. I know that's not a gimme game,
Oh
but
my god.
but I think that the Vikings will outright win that game against the Packers. So that's my second pick. The Vikings minus one versus the Packers, even though it's close.
Okay.
I do think that the Vikings will just beat them. Because, yeah, simple as that.
All right, good for you, little Jimmy. my next game, I'm gonna go the Raiders minus 1.5. They're favored. Yes, they're favored against the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are still completely depleted in every single category. They just got shut out. First time this year, by the way, an NFL team has been shut out in a game. Pretty crazy that it happened in week 16. Nonetheless, I'm going to take the Raiders -1.5. They've been playing really hard for their head coach, Pierce. They won last week. They're kind of forfeiting their top 3 pick at this point, and I think they're going to continue to do so. I think they're going to just beat the Saints outright, and they're going to pretty much crush them.
All right. Obviously, I do agree with that because yeah, I don't. There's nothing I could say that not what you said. So, I'm gonna go with my next team, which is Detroit -3.5 versus the 49ers. I think, as we just said, that Detroit is too good to, and I don't see the Niners being able to stop the run game or even stop the pass game with Jamison Williams, who's being hot, and Amon-Ra, who's obviously still hot.
Cool. Yeah. I'm going to go for a little bit of a weird one this week, right? So, Buccaneers are still in it.
Mm-hmm.
They're fighting for their lives. They have to win these games. And then on the flip side, they're playing Carolina, who has been playing extremely well. Bryce Young is actually starting to look like an NFL caliber quarterback. I'm going to take the Panthers +8 here. I'm going to give a caveat. I don't think the Panthers win this game.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do think they keep it close enough in order to cover +8. I think they lose by like a field goal late. That's my opinion, and that's where I'm going.
I want to disagree with you. I really do, but I can't. So overall, good pick.
Do you have anything going on around your brain except 2 marbles just hitting into each other?
No. Honestly, like for once in my life, I could say I agree with you this much on something for like the games you're picking.
So me and Derek are both going 0-4 this week. That's nice to hear.
Well, I'm gonna move on to my lock of the week
Yep.
because they are versing the Giants, and for now on, I'm picking every team that versus the Giants.
Such a penis.
I'm taking the Colts versus the Giants. I think Jonathan Taylor, he just rushed for 200. He might rush for 300. And he might be in competition with Derrick Henry and Saquon for the yards this year. Just because of this game. This is like a Madden game on rookie, and the team that they're versing is a 50 overall.
All right. Now you're just being mean. Like, we get it. The Giants suck. You don't have to just beat them. They're already 12 feet under the ground, Derek. You don't have to just stomp on the ground.
I'm sorry. I had to.
Whatever, man. All right. I'm just going to go into my lock. I'm going to go to another team that's still fighting for a playoff spot, even though they're like 97% in the playoffs, I think. I'm going to go to the Chargers this week against the Patriots. They're only favored by 4, which is a little weird, but the lock of the week, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to take the Chargers money line. I think they beat the Patriots outright pretty handedly, especially they've been a good team straight up. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go.
That's yeah.
Cool.
I don't know. It sucks because I want to disagree, but I can't. Fuck you.
Well, moving on.
No,
For anybody,
no. I want to introduce this. This is my
why
thing.
do you want to introduce this?
Because I always do it. Don't change. Yeah, I think you know what we're talking about. We're concluding
I'm
this.
aware. Go.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up. We're concluding our week's picks. Thank you, Dean, for coming up with the topics. You did my job, which I normally do, but obviously, I think you did better. I might hire you to do more stuff. But hey, we move on.
I think our 50-50 split now is starting to go 60-40 my way, but we'll talk about these things in private.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in private. But anyway, we're gonna move on to Dean's favorite segment, which is
Baller of the Week.
For once, the pitch actually stayed in, and you didn't get out.
A bullshit? A bullshit?
No. I tried to keep it short this time around just because the longer I go, not only the more does my throat hurt, but I think my body hurts. So, that being said, we are going to do Baller of the Week. Derek, would you like to start it off?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay in the football realm. Shocking.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with a player who we haven't spoken about much this year, who is a rookie, and his name is Brian Thomas Jr. He just recently broke the Jaguars receiving yards record, I believe. The yards and receptions. He just surpassed Justin Blackmon for first, which is by far insane. Justin Blackmon, I'm pretty sure, was drafted in 2014. So it's been a long time for a rookie to do good on that team. Rookie wide receiver. So a big congratulations to him for obviously playing very good this year. He's been very underrated. I think finally he deserves his appreciation for once. Him and obviously Brock Bowers, the two rookie standouts this year. So overall, that is my Ballers of the Week.
Cool. Good for Brian Thomas. Still not better than Brock Bowers, but gonna move on from your stupid Baller of the Week.
He's not stupid. Brian Thomas deserved it.
Yes, I agree. He's a very good rookie. He's probably the only bright spot on Jacksonville, so I'm going to give you this one, okay?
Thank you.
I'm going to go out of the sports world.
Oh, God.
Damn right. Right? This is, for anybody who does celebrate, this is a special week. Christmas is tomorrow. Me and Derek do usually record these podcasts on a Tuesday, so Christmas is tomorrow for all those Catholics out there who do celebrate. Merry Christmas. I am going to go into the world, the living world.
Oh, God.
And my Ball of the Week is St. Nicholas, also known as Santa Claus, right? So this past week in Turkey, as part of an excavation by Turkey's Ministry of Culture and Tourism, they deemed to have discovered the tomb of St. Nicholas more than 1,600 years after he had apparently demised, right? So this is a huge discovery, not only for Santa Claus believers, but this is also a huge discovery for just Catholics in general because it is St. Nicholas. He was one of the most vital patron saints of the time, right? And this is big too because people who believe in Santa Claus, i.e. me, have been proven right that he did live, that his soul, that his spirit continues to bring joy and happiness to everybody on earth except Ranger fans. And I wanted to give my shout out to St. Nicholas for people finding his tomb and his final resting place. St. Nick, we love you. I miss you, Santa Claus. Please tell me I was a good boy. Because we all know Derek wasn't.
You cannot say that at the age you're at now. You cannot say that.
I can. The moment you stop believing in Santa Claus, you immediately become an adult.
No, I'm not saying that. Saying you've been a good boy. Do not say that ever again. I don't know when you. All right.
You're a bad piece of shit. You're getting coal in your stocking.
I don't disagree with that. I've been an asshole.
Whatever. That's my Ball of the Week. Saint Nick, good old Saint Nicholas, Santa Claus, whatever you want to call him. Yeah. I hope Mrs. Claus is giving you some nice cookies and milk up there in heaven, buddy.
That's a great Ball of the Week to get in the Christmas spirit. I don't hate it. I'm shocked you brought it up because I saw it on my Instagram timeline and I breezed right past it. I can't believe you actually remember that. But
you're just a piece of shit then.
Because
how could you just breeze past Santa Claus?
I don't know, man. I don't know. All right. Well, that concludes this episode of the Double D Report. Obviously, Christmas time. Everyone have a happy holidays. Enjoy your holidays. Spend time with your family. And next week is going to be obviously New Year's. So tune into our New Year. We might have a little special episode, maybe potentially a drunk episode. That'll be fun.
You never know, and maybe, just maybe, you'll hear me and Derek's New Year's resolutions.
Just maybe. That might be...
It depends how much we drink before the episode.
Yes, it depends. It really depends. But anyway, like, subscribe, follow on TikTok. Obviously, send Dean the mail bang or mail bag, whatever the hell you want to call it. And enjoy, and peace.